fantasy football season approaching. Obviously, there's very different ways to draft. There's different strategies. And one of the strategies I tested doing these mock drafts as the season and drafts approaching in the next few weeks is a hero RB strategy, pretty much where you draft only one running back in the first 5 rounds of your fantasy draft. So with this first mock, the first of 3 mocks, I went with the first pick overall in this first mock. I went Ja'Marr Chase. He's my number 1 off the board automatically. Then back in the second round, I got Breece Hall, so that's my hero RB. And I think Breece Hall, he's underrated this season going into fantasy drafts, where you could see he's ranked in 43 ranges, Breece Hall. But I think back into the second, third round for sure to get Hall. Then I went wide receiver 2 in a row, Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf. Tyreek Hill, he's at great value. And if you watch the series of the 12 picks, every pick I choose from 1 to 12. Tyreek Hill, I drafted a lot. And once again, here in the third round, he's great value as Tyreek. If you didn't see my rankings as well, I have him as a top 12 wide receiver. Then DK Metcalf I went. So pretty much I start off 3 strong receivers out of 4 picks, and I have Breece Hall as my number 1 back. And then the 5th round, I went with Sam Laporta in this one, shoring up the tight end position off the bat. And now we're adding even more depth in the 6th round, adding Zay Flowers to the mix. And then after that, I got to attack the running back position. The majority of the draft left. 7th round went Brian Robinson Jr. as my number 2 back. Not an ideal number 2 back, but like I said, if you're strong everywhere else, in worst case, you have a middle of the pack to weak running back, I think it's an ideal thing for fantasy owners. Then Kyler Murray in the 8th round, which is great value for Kyler Murray, I believe, where he's one of the better rushing quarterbacks in all pro football, and he'll get the rushing yards, and he's got great weapons in Trey McBride, obviously, and Marvin Harrison, who I think has a big second year. Then I went running back 3 out of the next 4 picks. Cam Scatterbo, he's got an opportunity of possibly winning the starting job as the year goes on, or even out of training camp with Tyrone Tracy. So Scatterbo is my 3rd back. Not ideal, more 4th or 5th you would want him, but like I said, with this strategy, you got some players you have to value a little higher than others if you're going to use this strategy. Then 10th round, Cooper Kupp, who I've been getting a lot in these mock drafts as well as Cooper Kupp. We know he's a good wide receiver. We know the better years are behind him, but I still think he's got something left in the tank. And for him to be my 5th wide receiver is nice. Then Travis Etienne, Isaac Guerendo, back-to-back running backs I go here with this strategy. So I still drafted 5 running backs. Obviously not very strong options besides Breece Hall, but guys who could fill in bye weeks, and possibly if one of these 4 drafted in the back half of this draft pan out, they could be good. So Etienne, as of now, I think he's going to be the starter going into the season. I know Tank Bigsby played well last season at times, but Etienne, I still think he has the best upside, and he is a good receiver out of the backfield. Then Guerendo, I took in the 12th round, one of the best handcuff running backs in all pro football. We know McCaffrey's had injury problems over the last couple seasons on and off, and Jordan Mason traded away to Minnesota. It's Guerendo's backup job now, and he's a solid handcuff. And then to round it out, Keenan Allen, I took with my last pick in this draft, where he just re-signed with the Chargers. And obviously, I think he's going to have a good role as the number 2 wide receiver on this team. So the final roster, Kyler Murray, Ja'Marr Chase, Tyreek Hill, Breece Hall, and Robinson, with this hero RB strategy, which, like I said, Robinson to me is more of a 3rd, 4th running back on your roster for fantasy owners. But with this strategy, I loaded up at the wide receiver position and got Laporta in the 5th round at tight end. And then DK Metcalf, who I think have a good season with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. Zay Flowers coming off my bench obviously is key, but if you're playing 3 receiver leagues with flex, then he would be my flex. Cam Scatterbo, decent rookie prospect at the back position, where this year very strong in the NFL draft. A lot of good rookies coming off. Then Cooper Kupp, Travis Etienne, and Guerendo, good depth pieces off the bench at the running back position. And then I close it out with Keenan Allen. So overall, like I said, with this draft, with the first pick overall, loaded at wide receiver, tight end, good value, Kyler Murray, good value, and just that number 2 back, obviously, with this hero strategy in this draft is weak. In the next draft, with this hero RB strategy, 5th pick overall, I did a mock with. Started off with Justin Jefferson. Jefferson, to me, is the 4th overall pick going into the year, just a bit over Jahmyr Gibbs I have. And then Kyren Williams as my hero back. After getting the extension now, I'm more confident in Kyren Williams this season. 3 for 33. He re-signed $11 million a year. Pretty solid number at the running back position, where we know running backs, they don't get paid a lot. Lamar Jackson, I went in the 3rd round. And I usually don't go quarterback high, but with this strategy, I might as well take advantage and get one of the best, if not the best, quarterbacks in fantasy football, Lamar, where he's pretty much like a running back, obviously rushing anywhere from 800 to 1,000 yards most seasons. Then fourth round, I went Xavier Worthy. I think he has a great season in his second year as Worthy. Obviously, Rashee Rice most likely going to get suspended, so Worthy has bumped up the rankings over the last couple of weeks. Tatora McMillan, I'm big on him coming into the year. If you saw it during that mock draft breakdown series as well, I took him a whole lot, where he's ranked 66 right now on Yahoo, but fifth round, I like McMillan a lot. And then there's my number 2 back here in the hero strategy, 2 backs in the first 6 rounds. I'm satisfied with Aaron Jones as my number 2 running back going into the season. We know Jones, he has some juice left in the tank. I know they traded for Jordan Mason, but Aaron Jones, last season, he was solid till he tied out a little bit at the back end of the year. But Jones, he still could do it all out of the backfield. 3 down back, good pass protector, good in between the tackles, decent receiver out of the backfield. And with Mark Andrews, who obviously you see in my starting tight end position, in the 7th round, I think it's good value for Mark Andrews, who's one of the better tight ends still in all of pro football. I know last season got off to a good, slow start, but it was all said and done, put up big numbers. Cooper Kupp, once again, I got 8th round, maybe reached a little bit. But like I said, when you got a guy like Cooper Kupp, who I still think has something to prove, and we know he's a great receiver, only 3-4 years ago when he won the Triple Crown and helped this Ram team win the Super Bowl. I think Kupp has something left, and to have him come off the bench is very solid to me. Then Deebo Samuel, another veteran wide receiver, traded to Washington. We'll see what he does this season with his new team as Deebo. But like I said, to get these guys in the 9th, 10th round range, most fantasy drafts, it's good value. Then Cam Scatterbo, once again, I went with him. I think he's a nice late round running back in the 8th to 10th round range, where there's a possibility he could be the starter as the year goes on, or if he has a monster preseason training camp where he's just going to go 50-50 with Tracy and take over the job early in the year. And then Javonte Williams, I'm not high on him coming into the season, but he's going to be the starter for now for the Dallas Cowboys, even though there's some competition. Miles Sanders, who they signed as well in the offseason, and the rookie Jaden Blue, who I think has the most upside out of anyone in this backfield. But in the early going, I believe Javonte Williams will be the starter. And then Luther Burden, the third, good rookie prospect. A lot of good receivers came out as well this season in the draft. So Burden, to get him in the 12th round is good value. And then Austin Eckler, who I think's still one of the better receiving backs in the league, and him and Brian Robinson, a good combination over there in Washington. So I'm more satisfied with this hero RB strategy with the 5th pick in this mock draft. To have Lamar, Justin Jefferson, and Worthy, very solid at wide receiver position. Kyron and Jones with the hero strategy, getting Jones in the 6th round is good value. Mark Andrews, solid tight end. McMillan, I think it's going to be a nice rookie season for him. And then the bench, a lot of veterans and a couple young guys. Good mix, I thought I got here as well. Cooper Kupp, new team, I think he does fine. Still has something left. Deebo Samuel, same thing with him as well. Scatterbo, like I said, he could take over as the starter as the year goes on. Javonte Williams, he'll go into the starter with the Cowboys this year. Luther Burden, good wide receiver rookie prospect, even though he's the number 3 over there in Chicago. And then Austin Eckler, who last season he showed some flashes, even though he had some concussion issues with Austin Eckler. But I think this year, as long as he's healthy, he's going to get decent workload. We saw majority of his games in PPR leagues, he had double-digit fantasy points. And now the last and final hero RB strategy draft I did was with the 10th overall. I got Christian McCaffrey. I know he had the injury problems, but right now he's been healthy. And I've said this in other videos, he's been healthy since January. So if the 49ers did make the playoffs, he was going to be available as McCaffrey. So to get him 10th, where I have him 7th ranked, as long as he's healthy, he's got potential to be the best running back in fantasy football once again. Then 2nd round, what a steal it was, 15 overall to get Malik Nabers. To me, Nabers, he's a top 10, 11th overall pick in fantasy drafts. So him to fall down is a big steal. Only if I could get this, obviously, once I draft in my season leagues here instead of these mocks. Then Tyreek Hill, once again, I went with him earlier in this video in one of the mocks, and Tyreek Hill's at great value in the 3rd round, where he's got potential to be a top 10 player. We've seen it throughout his career, most seasons and not go out there and put up big numbers. So Tyreek Hill in the 3rd round is great value, especially on this Yahoo platform. Then Davante Adams, 4th round. I know Matthew Stafford's banged up, but Davante Adams, for the most part throughout his career, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. He's been putting up numbers, and this season he's not a number 1. He's not a 1st or 2nd round pick like he's been for most seasons throughout his career. So to get Davante Adams in the 4th round and have him as my flex or third receiver, that's solid. Then Sam Laporta, once again, like I said, if I'm going to utilize this strategy, I'm going to get strong at quarterback or at the tight end position, wait until the 6th, 7th round to get my second running back. So right there, Sam Laporta in the 5th round. I know he got off to a slow start last year, and then second half picked it up in this high-powered Lion offense. That Caleb Johnson, the rookie in the 6th round I took in the early going, I think he's going to get decent work as Johnson. With Warren, he's not in between the tackle type of running back, and Johnson, they drafted him for that reason. Then 7th round got Juwan Jennings. I think he's a solid wide receiver over there in San Francisco. Right now, arguably could be the number 1 guy on that roster in the receiving room, with Brandon Ayuk most likely not going to be ready for the season opener. Then I went Tyrone Tracy. I took Scatterbo in those previous 2 other drafts, but Tracy, I think, to begin the year, most likely will be the starter for this New York Giant team. Last year, he was pretty decent at times. I know late in the 4th quarter in a couple ball games, some fumbling issues for Tracy, but he could do it all, catch the football out of the backfield, could be a 3-down back, where last year, totally by week 6, 7, Devin Singletary was phased out and Tracy took over, and he was solid for the Giants. I like him as my 3rd back. Then Khalil Shakir, solid receiver, the Bills' number 1 option in my opinion in the passing game. So to get him in the 9th round, good value. Then Jared Goff in the 10th, the quarterback I like a lot this season, and he's going at a great value in most of these mock drafts. 10th, 11th round, Goff is falling to where he could put up over 4,000 yards. He could put up over 30 touchdowns in a great offense with St. Brown, Sam Laporta. I got that double up on this roster as well. Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield and Jameson Williams. They got great weapons. I think Goff is a good year. Ray Davis, one of the better handcuff running backs in the league last season. We saw Ray Davis a couple games filling in for Cook. He went out there, put up numbers. So like I said, handcuffs, they're a big part of fantasy football. And like I said, Ray Davis is one of the top handcuffs. Then I went Rashad Bateman, speedy wide receiver. Had a couple pop games here and there for the Baltimore Ravens. When they're not running the ball, he stretches the field for them. And then to close it out, one with Jaden Blue, who has an opportunity in the second half of the season, I believe, to be a factor in this Dallas Cowboy backfield. So the final roster with the 10th pick and the last with the hero RB strategy. Jared Goff, solid quarterback, especially where I got him. Malik Nabers falling to 15th overall is a steal, and I doubt you'll see that at all for the most part. This was a rare occasion. Tyreek Hill, I like him a lot, especially in the 3rd round. McCaffrey and Caleb Johnson, with this strategy, not bad of a backfield. I don't know exactly what Caleb Johnson's going to give you, obviously, out of the gate with Warren there, but obviously they weren't fully invested in Warren as an every down back was this Pittsburgh Steelers team, and used decent draft capital on Johnson. And the thing with McCaffrey, obviously injuries have been a concern, but if he's healthy, like I said, he's got potential to be the best back in fantasy football. Then Sam Laporta and Goff got that connection, tight end quarterback position. Davante Adams, solid in the 4th round. Even though Stafford might not be ready for week 1, I still think Adams goes out there, can make plays. Juwan Jennings off the bench, I'm big on him this season, where he possibly could be the number 1 for this 49er team, even when Ayuk returns. Tyrone Tracy as a number 3 back, not horrible, decent depth piece. Khalil Shakir, solid wide receiver, especially to have him as my number 5. Then his teammate Ray Davis, one of the best handcuffs in all fantasy football at the running back position. I like the pick there. Then Bateman, solid number 6 wide receiver. And then I closed out with Jaden Blue. So for the most part, good balance I got on this roster. And even with the hero RB strategy, I think it's not bad. So to be honest, I think this ain't a bad strategy going into the season, especially PPR leagues where you get your running back in one of the first 2 rounds, and then you load up a receiver, and then if you want to go tight end quarterback in that 5th round, and then back at running back in 6th round. But for the most part, my strategy, I think going into the year, best player off the board you take, and you go from there, where I would wait on quarterback where it's deep this season, and even tight end for the most part is a pretty solid position. So that's the strategy, hero RB. I think these teams, even with that strategy, panned out well entering the 2025 fantasy football season.